Then my grandmother would pick up a little metal hammer covered with sharp points. You have to pound the flesh gently like this, she said as she pounded the pink meat with the hammer. If you pound the veal just right, it's so tender it will melt in your mouth. Every time my grandmother cooked veal, my grandfather asked if it was milk-fed. Is that milk-fed? He asked from his place at the table. My grandmother stopped what she was doing, lit a cigarette, and blew a stream of smoke into my grandfather's face. She shook her head and went back to pounding the veal. I set down the last of my milk before diving into the tortellini, little round rings of pasta stuffed with cheese. Pat stabs a little pasta pillow with his fork and holds it up. See this, he says? You know it's a good tortellini if it looks like a cunt. You know it's a good cunt if it looks like a tortellini. C word. He puts it in his mouth and swallows it. Chelsea holds out her hand and wags a giant red ruby under Pat's nose. Did you see what Vincent got me, she asked. Pat pulls Chelsea's hand to his face and studies the ring. Nice stone, he says, and raises his eyebrows to Vince. Vince shrugs his shoulders, reaches over and opens Chelsea's coat. Chelsea is wearing a shiny gold halter dress. Her breasts bulge out the sides like perfectly smooth white balls. Vince puts one hand on each breast and squeezes. How about these? Chelsea talks about her new boob job and all the money she made in Vegas over the weekend. You should see her, Vince says. She walks in there and everyone thinks she's a movie star. I think about the photograph of my father on my grandmother's kitchen counter, his bald head glowing under the casino lights at the Golden Nugget. He lives in Las Vegas and sends my grandmother an endless supply of poker cards. I wonder if he's seen Chelsea in Vegas, if he thinks she's a movie star, if he's fucked her. I pick up my emptied milk glass and scrape the straw on the edges and try to catch the last drop. The straw makes a loud gurgling sound and Pat reaches over and slaps my hand from the glass. He snaps his fingers and tells the waiter to bring me more milk. Don't you think you're too old to be drinking milk, honey? Chelsea asked me. Her teeth are stacked like ivory tiles between her lips. I like milk, I say, as the waiter puts a glass of milk and a giant plate of veal scallopini in front of me. You keep eating like that and your ass is going to be so fat no one's going to pay $5 for it, Chelsea laughs and picks at an olive rolling around on her plate. Her ass is just fine, Pat says. He grabs my butt and pinches it hard. I feel 2 fat bruises swell on my left ass cheek. I stab a piece of veal with my fork and slide it between my lips. Soft, tender, milk-fed. I close my eyes and feel it slip down my throat. When are you going to get her a pink mink coat, Chelsea? Chelsea looks me up and down. She doesn't need a mink coat to be a beauty. Pat puts his arm around me and gives me a squeeze. Do you, baby? Chelsea's mouth pulls into a frown. I remember the one time I turned a trick with Chelsea. His name was Bill, and he was one of her old tricks she'd known for years. Bill opened the door to his hotel room, and the smell of vodka, sweat, and cigars stuck its fat fingers down my throat and made me retch. Bill was a rough, pot-bellied man. According to Chelsea, he was a millionaire. Millionaire or not, he was ugly, and he stunk. Bill, baby, Chelsea squealed in her high-pitched Texas drawl. She pulled his cigar out of his mouth and planted her perfect plum lips on his. Chelsea waved her hand at me to come closer. Don't be afraid, darling. Bill's not going to bite you. Come in here and help me wash up this poor man. Chelsea led me and Bill into the bathroom and handed me a washcloth and a bar of soap. I stood there soaping up Bill's dick. It flopped against his leg, a flaccid thing. Do it harder, he mumbled through his cigar. Bill was too drunk to get it up. The rest of the night went something like this. Bill's dead fish stick was in my mouth, and I tried not to puke from the smell of sweat on his balls. Then Bill's dick was in Chelsea's mouth, and she didn't seem to smell anything. Bill's big hand pulled me to his face and made me kiss him. His tongue was thick as a piece of liver. Even after he took it out of my mouth, I could feel the weight of it and taste the slimy, thick coat it left inside me. There was Chelsea, glittering like the Hope Diamond, as she opened her perfectly rosy lips and swallowed Bill's lifeless prick. She was real Las Vegas big time in this hotel room with Bill's dick in her mouth. Bill's dead fish still wasn't doing anything. Chelsea reached in her bag and grabbed a bottle of lube. She squirted a little bottle in her palm and jerked on Bill's dick while he pinched my nipples until they felt like they were falling off. Finally, Chelsea climbed on top of Bill, bounced up and down a few times, and tossed her giant mane of red hair in violent circles. Bill let out a heave and a grunt. Chelsea rolled off and, "You're so hot, baby. How do you know how to do that to me?" Bill picked up the stub of his cigar and put the television on with the remote control. Life. It goes like that sometimes. Chelsea got up and padded to the bathroom. I sat on a chair and watched the lights in the bathroom spill across the hotel room floor. Chelsea's naked body was framed by the bathroom door. She climbed onto the sink and squatted over the faucet. She sucked water onto her cunt with a wet sloshing sound, her bare ass hanging over the edge of the sink. You gonna come wash up, she asked me. I was frozen. Watching Chelsea on her haunches in the bathroom sink was even more shocking than the image of Chelsea's pink Texas lips wrapped around Bill's limp dick. When you're done, I said. And now here's Chelsea sitting across from me with her white mink, her giant ruby ring, her new boobs, and her pimento stuffed olive rolling around in her plate. I need to go powder my nose, Chelsea breathes across the table. She leans over to Vince and kisses him, one eye glaring at me while her little pink tongue shoots into Vince's mouth. I can never be like Chelsea, I cry to Pat when Chelsea is gone. Don't you worry about her, baby, Pat tells me. You've got your youth. Your youth is worth 1,000 mink coats. I look at my freshly filled glass of milk and guzzle it down straight from the glass. Milk dries and cakes around my lips, but I don't wipe it off. Chelsea sits back down at the table and goes back to poking at her olive. I stab a hunk of veal with my fork and hold it to my lips. I smile at Chelsea and feel the milk crack on my face. Then I slide the veal inside my mouth and start chewing. How's the veal tonight? Pat asks me. Perfect, I say, and swallow another piece. The end.